All right, hey everybody, time for another edition of the Stretch Pass. I'm Steve Clark along with Matt Young. And Matt, the trade deadline has passed, and while the deals were not as significant and plentiful as last year, still lots of key deals to talk about. Let's start off with the Niagara Ice Dogs, who sent Phil Tomasino to the Oshawa Generals. 9 draft picks is the return, or 9 assets is the return for Niagara. Really kind of a surprising one.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, it's one of those things where the Niagara Ice Dogs, there's a benefit to keeping him, but there's also a benefit of trading him as well. And right now, when you're getting 9 assets back, 6 of them second-round draft picks, there's a lot of motivation all of a sudden to trade him. And you know what? Right now, the Oshawa Generals are reaping the benefits. He's been on fire since that trade.
A deal that did not surprise anybody, Matt Young, was the Ice Dogs trading their captain, Akil Thomas, across to the Peterborough Petes in return for Cam Butler and 4 draft picks. Of course, Thomas is making the media rounds as the hero of Team Canada's gold medal victory, and the Peterborough Petes have themselves an asset on the ice and really off the ice.
Yeah, certainly they did. You know, if you think about it, everybody kind of questioned the gold medal goal for Akil Thomas. Would that drive the price up for the Niagara Ice Dogs? Well, it certainly didn't drive the price up. Cam Butler and the draft picks are a nice return, but Joey Burke stated back in November that he wanted an 03 player in return for Akil Thomas. He didn't get it. Maybe because this deal was telegraphed going into the year, everybody knew that Akil Thomas had to be dealt, so that might have hurt Joey Burke's position on it. But at the end of the day, he did what he had to do with Akil Thomas. He made the trade, and you know what? The Ice Dogs are going to be better off in the future for it.
The Oshawa Generals continue to be busy. They shipped Sarah Noel off to Kitchener and strengthened a Kitchener Rangers team that's one of the hottest teams in the Ontario Hockey League. Oshawa, again, they add a little, they delete a little, they don't go all in, they don't sell off everything, they kind of do things their own way.
Well, yeah, they certainly do things their own way, but there's 2 words dictating why they did what they did this year: Memorial Cup. Next year, they want to bid and be the successful team in the Ontario Hockey League for the Memorial Cup. So what they had to do is they had to move Sarah Noel, and they used a couple of those second-round picks that they got from the Kitchener Rangers to send to the Niagara Ice Dogs for Phil Tomasino in hopes that he returns next year and that he doesn't make the Nashville Predators. I don't think he will, because I don't think he's physically strong enough yet. Speed-wise, definitely, but strength-wise, no. So I think he will be back. There's a lot of people who think that deal was a risk just because of that. I certainly think it only enhances their chances of landing the Memorial Cup next year.
The Barrie Colts completely remade their team. Jason Wilms was traded. Ryan Suzuki was traded as well, and a little bit of a surprise. Saginaw is where Suzuki's heading, and Saginaw and Barrie are quite familiar trade partners. What about what the Barrie Colts did? They were in pretty good position at one point this season, have really slumped badly since December, and now it looks like they're saying, we're going to reload.
And let's not forget, they also dealt Matej Pakash as well to Sudbury. So, yeah, they kind of went all out, and you know what? They're going for a full rebuild, and quite frankly, I can't say I really blame them, because that slump is really something that kind of changed their season. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting just because you look back at it. You got Phil Tomasino drafted 2 years ago. Ryan Suzuki was number 1 in that draft. Now he's found himself with a new team. And you know what? He's certainly acquitting himself well. Had a hat trick as well the other night. So for me, I think the Barrie Colts, they're doing what they have to do at this point in time. But it's certainly not an easy blow, because it seems like every other year the Barrie Colts are in or they're out.
A strange one here is Northern captains switched teams. Shane Belitka, who was Sudbury's captain, was traded to North Bay for Brad Chenier, who was their captain. A little bit of a strange move for Sudbury to make. Maybe they thought there was an upgrade in terms of Chenier, because there's nothing wrong with Shane Belitka's game.
No, certainly not. Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where perhaps they wanted a guy that could finish a little bit more, maybe a guy that's a little bit grittier in Brad Chenier, but certainly Belitka's, there's nothing to sneeze at there, and I think he's a really good player. I don't quite understand the trade for either team, but hey, sometimes I'm not meant to understand.
And Sudbury didn't address what everybody thought they might address, and that's their goaltending. They're an odds-on bet to be the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and one would have thought with them, you know, not really much above 500, they may have upgraded that position.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those things where they've struggled all year keeping the puck out of their net. You can have all the guys in the world, the Matej Pakashes, the Quinton Byfields, the Blake Murrays, but if you can't keep the puck out of your net in the playoffs when things tighten up, you're not going to win. So for me, I think it's a bit of a miss, only because this is probably the only year you have Quinton Byfield for a long playoff run, and to go out and not address that to me, it's a bit of a mistake, and they could really regret that come April.
Team setting the pace in the OHL, Ottawa 67's fairly quiet. They did their business with Joseph Garefa back in, October, November. We talked about the Petes. The West, of course, is quite the schmozzle of teams. Out of this trade deadline, did you see any of the teams in the West or the East distance themselves a little bit from the pack in terms of being an odds-on favorite?
Well, I don't know that anybody distanced themselves, because it's kind of in the West they were all a bit smaller adds, except with the exception of Ryan Suzuki. So for me, I certainly like what the Saginaw Spirit did, probably the most out of everybody. But let's never underestimate the London Knights. You know what? When you go out and get a Jason Wilms, I really like the player. He's sound defensively. He's good in the face-off circle. All things that are underrated, but not at playoff time.
London will have their challenges as their goaltender Dylan Miskew is serving an 8-game suspension for taking a banned substance that he did not know that he was taking. We hurtle down the stretch in the Ontario Hockey League, and we will talk to you next time on the Stretch Pass. For Matt Young, I'm Steve Clark. Thanks for watching.